Welcome to the Morse Code Podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurially minded creatives in music, film, and writing. My name is Corby, and I'm hoping these conversations inspire you to push deeper into your own work, whether you're a full-time professional or just starting out on your own creative odyssey. Well, it's a new year, and with that comes new goals. Like you, I think about, what I'm doing, what's working, what's not, what I love, what I don't love, and just generally how to adjust my approach to the demands and opportunities of life to make the most of my time here. I mean, it's kind of the point, right? So I'm just going to say this right off. 2025 is going to be a big year for me in music. My last record was in 2021, but really my focus for the last 5 years has been film with my show Morse Code. It's been fantastic and challenging and soul growing, and I've met a lot of people and learned new skills that I'm bringing to bear like right now in this moment. But in the meantime, I've been writing new songs, and I've got a stack, and I'm getting ready for that season, which is now. To that end, I'm playing my first show, releasing my first new song, and putting out a music video in 6 weeks. The song is called Meet Me at the End of the World, and the show is happening Saturday, February 15 at the 5 Spot here in Nashville. It's going to be a full band show, plus we're debuting the music video, which is being directed by award-winning filmmaker and MCP guest Mila Villaplana. More on that soon. There'll be details, but I just wanted to say it all out loud because that's how you start. All right, I'm really excited to share my next guest, visual artist and creator and musician and host of the Make It Perfect live podcast, Rado. A guy who does a lot of stuff and has a lot of interests, as I learned. He's a deeply feeling artist, whose connection to his work is immediate, personal, visceral. I wanted to get him on the pod in his auspices as a painter, but as we got to talking, analogies to various disciplines, music, writing, painting, came fast and plentiful. In a little while, I'll appear on his podcast, the Make It Perfect podcast, where he, I guess, guides his guest through a conversation and painting at the same time. You paint together and you talk about life and art and existence. And half of that I'm really interested in just by nature. The other half I'm just intimidated by. And he assures me that it's going to be okay. I mean, I must be pretty nervous because I mentioned it like 6 times during this conversation. But he's like, I got this great bedside manner, man. I'm going to make you comfortable and we're going to do this together. So stay tuned on that one. I've got to say, this was one of the most meaningful conversations we've had on the podcast. Very few people are as good at articulating the why of their journey as Ryan is, and his openness with himself makes you feel similarly comfortable, I guess I'd say. I know that sounds kind of Mr. Rogers-y, but the point of art, has something to do with getting closer to our authentic self, and Ryan is gunning for that hard. All right. If you get something out of the Morse Code podcast, like us on your preferred platform. You can subscribe on YouTube and consider joining as a subscriber on my Substack. It really helps out. Either way, I truly hope you feel as inspired by these conversations as I do. And now here's my conversation with Rado. Rado.
Yes.
My man, thank you so much for making some time for us over here.
Oh man, honored to be here.
This is a little bit of a ruse for everybody just tuning in because we've been talking for half an hour and we wasted no time going deep.
Yeah, no joke.
So I'm excited for what's about to take place. And maybe we could set the table by talking about how we met, however briefly, which was
was that your screening?
It's a screening at the Soho House.
Yeah, dude.
You're with Kelly, brought you out. And I was just like, I could tell that you and I, even in that very limited interaction, were like on coming at life and art from a similar place.
Yeah.
And then when I read the interview, it was confirmed. Because this guy is just like, there's a lot going on, and art is, you kind of talked in that interview about the relationship of art to other things in your life, and the need to process emotions. Yeah, I said something really interesting about like being an adult and dealing with like loneliness and solitude through painting. And we can get into that, but this is supposed to be, I haven't even said a question yet. I'm just sitting here talking at you.
No, please do.
But anyway, I'm really glad and thank you. Maybe we could just start by talking about the Make It Perfect project that you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And where did that come from?
That's a great question. I need to jump in the foils for a second. In 2018, I was working with just a brilliant young man named Luke Yates, and he'd approached me about he lives in Colombia, and he was running camera and doing art direction and producing and stuff for Make It Perfect, and he wanted to do some videos and stuff like that, and then and so he and I were working together on one thing, and then my buddy Roman. He's a DJ at the Buzz over there, Roman Haviland. I think that's how you say it. Nice. An old school friend.
He was Buzz is a radio station here in Nashville.
Yeah, good call. And he's a certain kind of guy that listens to the Buzz, man. You know, I'm that guy anyway. But he was like, man, it'd be cool if you had guests and you talked and painted with them, because I've always really enjoyed conversations that a lot of people don't have. And so
what do you mean by that?
I mean, conversations of being able to own who you are, what you're going through, and how being able to own what I'm going through, who I am, as far as I know right now, and owning things that I need to change, and things in the past that I've done also. I really enjoy having those conversations with people. And,
which a lot of people would file it as like a heavy conversation.
Heavy as possible.
So
you nailed it, dude.
And this is my take on you.
You fucking nailed it. Yeah.
Just from the outside is that you have a gift for facilitating that kind of conversation. Even in the kitchen a second ago when we were making coffee, you talked about, your sort of, my word was bedside manner, but your ability to like make one of your guests feel comfortable in themselves and be in that flow state with the painting. So maybe you just say what the project is.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Because I'll go for it. Cheese up eats. So we set up 2 easels, we paint, record it, and we have a conversation. Just see where it goes. I don't necessarily have an agenda. I think if I did have an agenda, it's for myself and the guest to get down to now and get down to what's really happening for you in this moment. That's what I want. That's what I think we are afraid to talk about. We talk about the past and the future a lot, but what is actually happening outside of me and inside of me in the moment when I'm with somebody? So, and you had the process of creation in that. Even a conversation is a creative process, but when you add painting and you distract somebody and put them in a type of trance, which I'm in as well, it forms a really, really labyrinthine container to explore. And I just love stuff like that.
It's like a guided meditation where but both people are being guided by a third thing.
Yes. And we must take mushrooms. I would love to do that sometime. Anyway.
Well, you've invited me to be part of this. And so that is subject to recording in the near future. And I'm going to say now, for the record, that while I'm excited to be your guest, I'm also really intimidated and afraid. Yeah.
Understandably so.
As somebody, I have no experience in painting. I'm intimidated by the visual arts in a way, as a rube might be.
I love that word. Yeah.
But I'm also just like, I like to try new things. So
yes.
But
what are you afraid of? More of what are you afraid of?
Well, okay, I could say something about the way I've gone about my creative work for my adult life has been to make all my errors in private.
Got it.
And then the thing is polished, whether it's a song or a piece of writing. I do all the polish, where no one can see. Yeah. And then the thing is unveiled. With the performance, there's an aspect of taking a chance in front of people, but I could be more rehearsed at times, but most of the time I really have my shit down. Performance level. And so I can just do it. And I'm not like sitting there trying something that I can't do in front of people.
Yes.
So anyway, to venture that far out of my comfort zone while a camera is rolling, and then on top of that, have a conversation with a person, I'm like, that fries my circuits in advance.
Man, that gives me Tourette syndrome. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome, man.
So be gentle.
My
God.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. And I really value that you say that, and that you're able to articulate and express and describe how you're feeling in your process of like wanting, making your mistakes in private, and in no way do I want to dismiss or take away from your feeling and sentiment on that. Every guest, even more so the painters, say the same thing. And it's beautiful because it unlocks a certain type of vulnerability to be able to be a little messier in front of people. For
sure. I mean, it's the vulnerability part is, I mean, what we're all getting after, I feel like, in life, art, and even conversation.
Totally, man. Yeah.
I would also say that I can understand that a professional painter would have even more reticence.
Yeah, right. I gotta make something.
I have a reputation here. This is kind of like, I'm not me. I'm like, I already knew I couldn't paint. Yeah. So whatever happens here is fine.
There might be you might find a little relief in that.
Yeah.
That the expectation is just to be you and who you are.
I do. I do find a little relief in that, as opposed to, if I at times, God help these poor people, but I'll teach like a master class in songwriting.
Yes.
And so there's a little bit of, responsibility to like act like you know what you're doing, and impart something useful to your audience or classroom.
You hope that happens.
That happens. But with you, I'll be like, I don't know. You're the one who brought me here.
Yeah, right. It's a good time, I promise.
Yeah.
And, you kind of, we forget we're painting sometimes, you know what I mean? And I think that's a beautiful part of it. I don't really think about what I'm painting. That's something I want to do because I think I've leaned on that as a crutch just to push color around and do some kind of abstract color field thing. But I've rarely made anything of form on make it perfect. So that's something that I'm going to try to do. And that takes a lot of thought for me to make something of form when I'm painting. Cause I really just, that autistic side of me takes over, and I just really want to explore and just be in the womb of this painting. You know what I'm saying?
Do you use that term autistic loosely in this context?
I do. And I also have Tourette syndrome and OCD and ADHD. So I'm in there somewhere,
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like you do right now.
Oh, I'm holding them in.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, because I want to eat this microphone. I've been trying to not bite this damn microphone, man.
Your powers of self-regulation.
How many people have spit on this? You know what I'm saying? It's all good, though.
Nice. It's coming out a little bit. Perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
So you said that you were in music for a really long time.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And as a performer, I looked at in that interview. We had some common bands.
Yeah, cool.
In the past. Well, those early Smashing Pumpkins recordings.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're similar, same age ish. So some of that stuff is youth oriented, like Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty Hate Machine was like just the most transgressive record I think I ever could have come across at my age of, I think it was 15-ish when that record came out. And then I was like in Mormon country, Idaho. My parents were not Mormon. And so I was like an outlier in that sense, but most of my friends were. And so there's something so naive and, puritanical, for want of a better word, about that, and idyllic in a way. And then somehow this searing album of noise and blasphemous lyricism explodes into our friend group and I was just and it was different than like Poison or like heavy metal bands. Totally. It was like I remember the song like I'm drunk and right now I'm so in love with you, and there's the lyrics going and there was something.
Well, the devil wants to fuck you in the back of his car. I was like, should I be listening to this?
Yes, I should be listening. This is the naughtiest thing I think anyone could ever sing into a microphone. 15 years old, and I was just like. Also, though, we were the nice kids.
Yeah,
and so there was something so delightful. Our response to it was like, it wasn't like we were going to go out and start like eating live animals or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But it was just like, whoa, this is like life is crazy, because it was safe.
There's more
still.
to
You're
it.
still listening
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
It was just like music. I remember feeling that. I was like, whoa, you can say crazy stuff, and it's like the song stops, and you're still just in your bedroom. It's like it's like awesome to kind of experience. Time. Like that was a very early indication of like how big the world actually was and could be cool. In my little town.
That's
anyway,
a good way to put that.
So sorry.
No, please. Yeah, please.
Also have a musical past.
Yeah.
And so did you set out to like make a life in performance, or did just kind of one thing led to another? Or?
Man, I worked in the music business, loosely. I managed bands, and I'm not a business person, and I wanted to be, because I felt like I hadn't yet realized that I was an artist. So I wanted to be around people that were making art. I think that was something that helped cultivate it, So I did a little touring. I played in bands, and again, managed.
What'd you play?
I sang. I can bang out a riff on a guitar, but I'm not a great guitar player. So I sang and screamed in some bands, and I was pretty fucking good, man. I gotta say, I was pretty fun. I missed the hell out of it, man.
Yeah.
I'm watching that Rhythm and Flow rap battle contest on Netflix with Ludacris and stuff right now. And I'm watching these kids come out and just own the stage, these younger kids. And the first time they get their shot, there's this one rapper named Detroit Diamond. And I'm from the area of Detroit. And so is she, obviously. And she came out, she was the first contestant, and she just murdered this crowd, man, in the stage. And I was like, holy crap, brought a tear to my eye. And I'm like, God, I feel that. And that's, I've never felt more expressed than when I've been on a stage performing in that way. Painting, nah. I mean, it's internal, but this is like, man, the energy, it's like godlike,
Yeah, I do. I can totally relate. I mean, as somebody who's hardcore introverted, could go days without talking to people and feel no loss.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, wife.
I love it. Yeah.
But I also have never feel more at home than on stage playing my music. And I've just been so comfortable doing that. It's like I'm allowed to be myself in this little vector, so I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, real quick, man, I will say, when you played those songs at your screening, that outside of the wonderful movie that you made with the people you made it with, like when you played that, I think you did some kind of a cappella.
Oh yeah.
I was like, in my mind, I'm like, this dude is up here with himself, whistling and singing, and we are captivated. And I was captivated. I'm in Nashville. I judge the fuck out of everybody.
And it's part and it's parcel.
Like, yeah. And my comment was that your guitar playing had this, like, it had this, like, it was like a confident humility. And like, that, I don't know if you remember someone saying that to you, but I was like, that was me. And like, I really meant that. And I felt like that's probably the strongest place an artist can be.
And that is, well, for my part, that's about the highest compliment I think you could pay me. So that's what I aspire toward.
Beautiful.
For sure.
Well, you nailed it that night. I was taken by that whole night, dude. Like,
oh man,
I left that movie, man, brought tears to my eyes. And I think that's why the question I asked was, how do you want people to be affected by your movie? Because I was in the moment affected, tears in my eyes, like, because I related to your character. I related to wanting to pursue something, the dad aspect of it, the ex aspect of it, Nashville. I was like, dude, I am him right now. So
well, you're our target audience.
Yeah, nailed it, man. I'm telling you, it was beautiful, dude.
Thank you, man. That's really kind of you to say. And just all to say that being, at home in your body when you're on a stage, I can totally relate to.
Got it.
And then to take this back to you, sir.
Sure, yeah, right.
After that generous detour.
Forgot that.
There was something that you said in the interview that I really could relate to, which is that you were kind of a latecomer to the painting game. 2014 is when you started
37.
doing it.
I was 37.
And that your experience of going to that place, and at least initially, had a lot to do with like the control, and that's maybe my word for it, but that idea of like, this is all up to me and going here, and it's not, it's independent of anything outside of this canvas. And that was attractive to you, is I'm making that a question mark at the end.
The control.
Yes.
All of the,
like was that part of the initial appeal for wanting to paint?
I think so. All the decisions are up to me here,
yes.
And who do I let inform my decisions on what I do here? And, excuse me. Yeah, it again, hello. That's like God, on being on a stage is godlike, that feeling, you really have a lot, you engage with people and crowd, but I wanted to contact the gods inside of me, the ones that that make the decisions for me, in me, And so, and I mean that archetypally speaking, because a lot of them are in there, and we're all made of generations and generations of people and myths and all that stuff. So while on the canvas, it's really important for me to be able to have a place where I felt like I could be myself. And that takes a minute. It takes a minute and changes over time, but it's like, I make all the decisions here. I'm a pretty emotional painter, and what I'm feeling comes out on the canvas. And sometimes what I'm feeling can affect the translation of how I want to articulate it to the world. So it can be a little muddy, So if I can find the place while I'm painting where I'm connected to the piece, my process, my body, the colors and their own consciousness, then I know that the decisions I'm making in this painting are going to have, at least somewhere, an effect of how I am wanting to get it out of my body and transmute it. So that's a pretty verbose way of saying that.
How do you know whether or not a painting is successful? Do you judge, is the criteria that I successfully expiated, that's my verbosity, this feeling, this emotion, or is there a formal consideration, or do some paintings not work for you and some do?
Yeah. I don't know much about formal, schooling and going to art school and stuff like that. I've picked up stuff along the way, listening to artists that work in that way, but a successful painting to me is if I really like it, and I like, man, so many things just start flooding on but this and this and this. Even if I like the shitty parts of it that I think are like, man, whatever, that's fine, I'll just leave that. And in a painting, I have fake moves. So I have ego moves that are like I can tell when I'm in a different mind, what am I trying to say? Like a different frame of mind when I make certain moves or use certain colors. Like I know that those are fake. They feel fake to me. And if I really like the end result, then I've made a successful painting. Now, I have people that I take my paintings to, like there's an artist in Colombia named Warren Green, and rarely does he tell me I have a successful painting. And I love that. I think and I respect what he's saying, because he's out there. And, but.
What do you mean by out there?
He's out there. Like, meaning like he is like, he can riff on anything. And he'll really tell me what he's thinking. He was an art professor for like 20 years. So he'll really give it to me, And, but even if he says it's not successful, I'll still use it. I'll still use the painting. There are certain paintings, and I'm sure songs too, that you're like, it's fine. You know what I mean? But there's certain paintings that I'm like, I can tell that I really sunk my soul into it. And, I don't give a shit, like I don't give a shit if somebody likes it. And, even more than that, as long as they're talking about it, that sounds good to me. You can talk negative about it. I don't give you can say whatever you want about my painting. I don't care, because the painting is itself. The painting is done. The painting has been exercised. What someone is doing when they're speaking about a piece of artwork is looking into a mirror and speaking about their own process and thinking about their own psychological hangups and training and art or whatever. And I'm not dismissing people that have that training, because God, I wish I did, you know? But then I hear people that are like super art school and they're like, God, I wish I didn't, because I know too much, you know? So I'm real hesitant on like trying to really put templates over my paintings. You know, I wish I could paint better. I wish I could had more technical training, and I could if I took some fucking classes, you know, but I love just fucking it up. You know what I'm saying? So
no, I feel like whatever your outlet or mode of creation, there's just this interplay between technical proficiency and ignorant thrashing.
Totally, man.
That exists at every level for every artist at all times.
Yes.
You know, and like when you're a kid and you just have this like yearning to make something, you don't even know what that is. It's just like that's the beginning of that seed. And then it's like you get your guitar musical analogy and you learn how to play, you know, G, and you're just like, I don't know, I'm going to use a different example on a different instrument, but I remember my first musical experience that like was outside of church hymns or whatever, in like a more socialized context, was my parents bought a piano for our family when I was in like in third grade, and the piano showed up, and my mom sat down and she played, you know, that song like. Like it's real easy to play, all white keys, and you know, and the da 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 da. My mom started playing it, and I was just like, "What? Mom knows how to play the piano?"
Yes.
I was just like, I just totally looked at my mom like,
"Who are you?"
She sprouted wings, you know? Totally. It just like melted my brain, and I really it set me on fire in a way that has not been put out. You know, I just was like this way that people can be is. There's this whole nother way. Anyway, but that, you know, at the very beginning, you're just like, I learned how to play that. Maybe that night she showed me, and I was just like, I can play piano too. Yes, and then she taught me to do the left hand part, you know, the accompanying part, and then she did the da da da, and I was just like, we're playing music together now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was so awesome.
It's like,
that thing. It's like everything that needed to happen in the world musically for me happened right then in that moment. Man. But the thing is, you can't duplicate that moment.
Right.
You know, the next time you do it, you're like, oh, it's just that. I know how to do that now. So what else is out there? And this is to me what motivates an artistically minded person to get better at their craft, is that it's like the sheen wears off real quick.
Right.
You know, you write a song and it's, I'm in love. Usually my favorite song is the last song I wrote. You know, I'm just like, God, this was, because it did the thing, you know, whatever it is, you know, not all the new songs are the same, but like once in a while you write a song and be like, that's a Corby Lanker song. You know, like you can judge me on that.
Totally,
that's as good as, this is all I got. This is as good as it. And I'll play it. I'm like, I love that line. You know, whatever it is, I love the melody. And man, it wears off, you know,
quick.
Fourth time you play it or whatever. Right. And so, and that's appropriate.
What's
that's
next?
Like you throw the fish back. Yeah. You cast the pole again. What's next?
Man.
So anyway, it's just like, but technical or virtuosity or technical achievement is not art. To me, like the YouTube is full of guitar playing virtuosos that leave me dead. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
it's the heart.
It's a heart. It's a heart thing. And well, it's about that interplay between just like taking a chance and being vulnerable and willing to fail and then somehow not failing.
Yeah,
wow.
Right.
That's so cool. But it's almost like after you take the step into the willing to fail, what happens after that is a moot point in a way. You know, it's nicer to win or to have something that you feel is worthy. But I don't know. I feel like you've already, and I say this to myself because I battle this on the daily, this fear of stepping into that vulnerable place. Even if I'm by myself. Sure. Yeah. I'm right, like in this novel right now, this is like this thing that I'm arguably at the end of, and it is, I get closer to the end of it, at least the first draft is just pulling teeth to get me to sit down
and work on it
because I'm so afraid. I'm so fucking afraid.
What are you afraid? Like,
I'm so afraid.
What are you talking about?
I can't do it.
Really?
The same thing.
Hold on.
I've always been afraid of the same thing.
Let me ask you this question real quick. Is it the sitting down to like get your mind right, not right, but get your mind in a place where you can be like, I'm sitting down and I'm just gonna put pen, or you know what I mean, pen to paper. Is that what you're afraid of? Or are you afraid that you're going to do a shitload of work and then you're going to read back and you'll be like, God, that whole shit sucked?
It's more like that.
Okay, got it.
Because most of the time, that's how I feel.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that I'm also just like hyper self-critical.
Sure.
And
understood.
That's a childhood thing, and that's my own stuff. But I think that also is a good thing in a way, because it does help you make. I think that critical eye is an important ingredient for making art that's, that maybe translates.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, successful, not whatever, translates. Yeah. And I've also just been like such a book nerd since I was a little kid. And so unfortunately I have an appetite for Russian literature, Nice. And once you go to Tolstoy's table, it's like, who the
why
fuck
am I doing anything?
Yeah, why am I doing anything?
Dude,
it's already,
dude,
and so it's like, okay, I get that. That's true. And this is like this little self-coach thing.
Dude, totally.
And I'm just like, but this is my story and I have a right to try it, and I also like, right. It's just like a joy and a privilege to take a shot.
Yeah.
And so I'm like taking my shot, but now that I'm close to the end of this draft and I'm just like, I am not pleased with the results. And I see ahead of me another year of just such heavy revision to get this going. So anyway, that's what it's very
it's like moving mountains, man.
Yeah. It's with a song, it's like, okay, I'll put my 3 to 5 hours in on this afternoon and see what we come up with. Win, lose, or draw. It's like, that was a good try today.
Yeah, right.
The novel side of it, it's just like, man, this is months of my life. I've got duties. I got paternal duties now.
Big time.
Yeah, so everything is a lot more expensive, and it's
Time's
like, but
more
I
expensive.
hate thinking like, and I've successfully eluded thinking in that sort of productive mindset for most of my life.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit there and do something as useless as making art while going like, well, I could be investing.
Down. I know, dude. I know.
You just got to like push it all away.
Yeah.
And but it's always encroaching.
Always. Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe as you get older too, and your duties grow, the encroachment comes with a passion.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
God,
okay. So
I really value hearing that from another artist, man. Even though, because I get stuck in my head, and obviously I'm more in my head than I want to be, and I'm alone a lot. So it's like I'm a pretty extroverted person, but I think I've needed time to see what the hell I'm up to being alone, So and being a person who makes visual art like paintings, it's a solo gig a lot of times, and the weight of every bill that I need to pay, the weight of like, God, I chose the stupidest career path. What? You want to succeed as an artist, number one, and as someone who paints, I'm avoiding saying painter. I'm noticing in myself, like I'm avoiding saying that I'm a painter, I think. And that's really interesting because flashes of people in town that I know that are like legit pursuing it so hard, painters.
Capital P painters.
Yeah, that's it. So I relate.
Why do you think that?
To,
What's unpack that for me?
School. I feel like school. I feel like I was not, and this giving me Tourette syndrome showing up. Little vulnerability, man. Freaking scared of it. Anyway, so you're welcome to put that shit in there, man. So,
we're leaving it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. That one too. So I had a really hard time in school, man. And I feel like I could have had a different path had I been better at school and graduated college and done that stuff. My dad always he didn't graduate college. We're similar in that way.
Yeah.
And he was always like, man, you got to go to college. He's like, it'll really help you. And I get there and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't even know what this teacher just talked about, because all the neurological stuff that I dealt with too, and or still deal with. And case in point, What's up, every guest? Anyway, so here I am making art because I feel like that's a way for me to feel fulfilled in who I think I am in the moment, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it's hard. It's always been hard for me to like put myself in a structure, you know, and authority stuff for me. But I'm learning now how much that's been a hindrance to my success, that I feel like I am this lone ranger, but little do I know how many systems I obey and how much I'm afraid to break the rules, you know? So,
I mean, I don't think that leaves any of us in civilized society. Wholly.
I want to be in civilized society. You know what I mean? I want to have buddies, you know? Anyway.
Well, I'll say as somebody who went to college, I'm not sure it did me a lot of good.
Dude,
so,
fuck.
Yeah, you can just tuck that one away.
I appreciate you saying that. I'll take a drink too. I'm getting ripped off this water.
Well, it's clear, man. It's as clear as we got to offer.
It's a Scientology water.
Well, maybe we could take a look at a couple of
Berkey's
paintings.
Good. Yeah,
up
please.
On the screen. And I'd love to hear your take on what was going on here and what you like about it. And I don't know, whatever. Enlighten me.
This is the newest painting I made. I finished that a couple days ago. The frame.
Is the title?
No. I think the title, oddly, the title is, tell me if you pick this up. This is the only time I really feel alive. And that's a Nine Inch Nails lyric off of Pretty Hate Machine.
Yes. Totally. Connection made.
And that guy is suffering, dude. So I generally don't talk about my work. And when you asked me to do that, I was like, fuck.
And also, you know.
Yeah.
To the extent that you want to. And,
yeah. If I
don't want to make this painful.
More
painful than necessary.
I appreciate it. I think if I were to take the mask off of myself, I would tell you every little nook and cranny about this painting. But I'm going to go with what I know. I love Goya's painting of Saturn eating his son, and before that, love Peter Paul Rubens. Painting of that too. Have you ever seen that painting?
No.
But wonderful paintings. Goya's is way more grotesque, and I do it in a way. I do it anyway. This character shows up a lot. He has been showing up more in my work. And
there's two characters.
The big guy that's having maybe a heart attack or being, struck or.
Yeah, he's definitely being struck, and there's a question: is there some element of self-inflicted to that?
That's good. Keep going.
No. I mean, it's not clear. You see the instrument of his piercing, and his hand is very close to it, or a hand, but it's not in his hand. So I don't know.
That's a really beautiful.
That's the limits of my ability to articulate this.
That's great. I think that's a really, really poignant thing to point out.
Let's take another look at a next slide.
Oh, yeah. So then I make the grotesque paintings, and then I make something so delicate like this, which I think is delicate. So I started making these floral paintings when I did Julian Baker's album cover for Turn Out the Lights. And this was a beautiful, man. I'll probably tear up. So when I lived by myself, I lived in North Nashville, and I had my studio underneath the spot where I lived, and my studio was bigger than where I lived upstairs. And so I'd have my son, and I'd put him to bed, I'd shower, get him in his jammies, put him to bed, and crib right at the end of my bed. It was such a special time. We'd lay on the couch, and I'd sing Frere Jacques to him, but it would be Harrison Rado, and I'd make up the lyrics as I go to him, and he'd ask me, "You sing me Harrison Rado?" I'm like, "You bet I will, buddy. You bet I will." So we'd lay there, and then I'd put him to bed, and I'd wait for a minute, calm down, because God, it's intense. I love you, buddy, if you ever hear this, so much. And I'd go down and paint after that, and I really love painting these floral paintings because they're just, I'm not thinking very much, and it's super flow, And I got done, and I painted this in one night, maybe like 2 or 3 hours, and was listening to music, just really, really, really being there, and being somewhere else, aware that he was sleeping, aware of the noises I was making. I got done and I backed up and I looked at it, and I saw the little indications of eyes, and really like looking up to me. I was like, "That's Harrison." And so I knew the night was over. So I went upstairs. I went to sleep. Next morning, I came down, got him ready for school and breakfast and all that. I was like, "All right, dude, let's go." And we were walking down the stairs, and I saw it leaning there, and I was like, I'm going to ask him. I'm just going to ask him who's in that painting. And walked down. I was like, "Hey, buddy, can I show you something?" "Yeah." Like, "Okay, dude." And excuse me. And I said, "Who's in that painting?" And instantly he goes, "Harrison." And I was like, God.
Whoa.
Like it's beyond human connection, and father connection to their children. And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, you're right, dude. All right, let's do it." And we got in the car,
Yeah.
And
that's a beautiful moment, man.
Yeah, it really was.
Serious energy.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It really, really caught both of us. Well, it caught me. He was just like, life is great.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for letting me share that. That was really sweet.
That's great.
Really
no, thank you.
Yes. God. Oh, I love the fuck out of that. Burn it down and walk away. That's not what it's called. I was, OCD will lead you in a lot of thought trails and complexes and stuff. And when I was single, after my divorce, I really was sweet on this girl, and I'd known her for a while, and couldn't get out of my head that all of the things, we're going to get married, all the blah, 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 all these fantastical things were happening in my mind about, I was constellating this, this love that I thought I wanted with this person, but it left me feeling so alone and empty, and that reaches back to my relationship with my mom. And so I painted this flower in the background, and this little arch you can see in the back. And then I was just like, I've been working on this for weeks. Excuse me again. And one day I was like, fuck it, and I just took a bunch of gold oil paint and just made those little swinging things in the back. And I was like, well, just ruin the work I just did, much like the feeling of the novel. I just worked on this for fucking weeks, man. It's not going anywhere. And so I did that, and then I was like, this is fucked. So then I just took some whatever thinner and just poured it on there, and I was just fucking with it. And I was like, fuck it, and just washed it with my hands, and I was like hitting it, and like, no offense to the young lady that I was trying to get out of my head, but I finished it, and I sent it to her and told her the story, and and that was it. And I love that shit. That shit is badass. Badass. Anyway, it's a big painting. It's probably maybe 4.5 feet by 3 feet. It's fucking sweet. Anyway, yeah.
Do you sell your paintings?
Oh yeah. Sold that one. That one's in Knoxville right now.
Okay.
Yeah, to a guy who bought, God damn, dude. He bought one of my paintings for $10,000.
Wow.
So it's like it's
gotta feel good. That's validating.
It was cool, but when it's sold, it's like, fuck, big deal. It's like cool, but then it's like, what's next?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like it was up until this moment, and I feel kind of gross right now. Have the painting. I love that you have the painting, but God damn it, I want the painting back. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's something I'm trying to really separate in me. I love selling my paintings. I sell the hell out of my work, and it's like, I have to let them go. And when I don't see them for years and then I see them again, man, it's a really beautiful, it's beautiful moment.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like, not painful.
No. It's like old friend. You're still here with me, you know, you're still here with this in the world, you know? So
that's a lovely thing about the physical arts is that this object exists in the world and you can cross paths again. It's a little different than a dance.
Big time. Or a song, you know?
Song, The song has something analogous there with it because it's a recording. You can always, true. But it's different. There's something so special about, here's a riff.
Yeah.
What is precious in the world today? One of the things that are precious to me are independent individual objects, and because we live in this digitized everything world, so streaming, a song is just a stream.
Totally, man.
It just exists on the internet till forever. Yeah. Anyone can always go grab it, and it's available to everyone. It can be infinitely duplicated. Yeah. But what can't be duplicated? Now that's special. There's a little bit of that with what do you call those objects, those digital objects?
NFTs.
NFTs and stuff.
Right,
yeah,
right. Do you ever fuck with that at all?
No,
me neither. I'm too much.
I'm pretty online, but I draw the line at NFTs. I don't get the point. I don't want to open a file and look at a picture on my screen. I own that.
I got this thing here. Right. Yeah. No shit.
But a physical thing. Now that's really special. And I have a couple of art pieces from artists I admire, and I cherish those things because it's the only one of its kind. It's in our house.
Big time.
It makes it really special. It makes our house special in a way. I don't know. There's something really powerful about that.
Yeah, so. Agreed. And I wish more people thought that way. And Nashville's kind of a design town that I've run into. And granted, there's a lot of art collectors here, but they're on the sneak. You wouldn't really know them, But as far as anything flashy or design based, you can make some a really cool painting, and I've done this, and it's a designer will catch wind of it, and they'll that'll be the last piece they add. But I would more come from the school of, why don't you base someone's house around the art first, and there are people that do that, obviously, but it's like the art is only complementary to the other things that are in the room. And I'm thinking, that
doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem right. Yeah. Like, why don't you buy the most gaudy, gross thing? I mean, whatever, it's something you like. Yeah. And when people come in your house, you just have no taste, and you're just like, what the fuck? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Let's talk about that. Because again, it's a mirror. And I love watching people in that process, like it really reveals what they think, and I love that shit, man.
Yeah. Ooh. And there's something about okay, fine. A painting can kind of comment on its surroundings. That's fair. But a painting is also a universe unto itself.
Yeah. Good call.
To me, I live, as the limited, whatever limited experience I have as an appreciator of the visual arts, that's where I live with it. I've never cottoned to tasteful, complementary paintings that worked with the colors of the room.
Right. And
I never cared about that.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's like, where's your where are your guts at?
I like what you said though about the design coming first or versus last or vice versa. And I think about this a lot in context of, gardeners versus architects is a thing that writers often think about. Novelists will be like, are you a gardener or an architect?
Oh, wonderful.
Meaning that one sort of writes to discover, the gardener, and sort of builds this world as he goes along, she goes along. And whereas an architect kind of sits there and meticulously plans it all out, plots it all out, and then just connects the fibers.
Right.
Not to say that one's better than others. Probably both are sort of important. Right. I'm learning.
Yeah.
But that applies to everything. And I think about we own this 1925 house in East Nashville, and it's very much an old house, and was sort of added to one room at a time, and it has no central planning.
Yeah, cool.
It has no consistent theme. It has no. It's annoying in many ways. You know, it's not the greatest use of space in many ways. It's not convenient in some ways, but there's something about the very lack of convenience that is it's part of its charm. And also with that, there's a spirit that fills the house of permissive-ness in terms of like, it's not meant to matchy.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's not a house that's going to be an architectural digest, nor would I ever want it to be. And so it, like whatever we put in the house, I feel like I never question how does this going to look with the couch?
Yeah. Right. Cool.
I go, I like that piece. We'll find a place for it, and we do.
Dude.
And then it makes the space like its own new cool thing.
Yeah. I value that a lot.
Yeah.
I think that it allows it to create its own life. You know what I mean? It's and the gardening and architecture thing is really, really apt. And
when you talked about your own process and you're like, you know, rarely or in many circumstances, you don't sit there and go like, what am I going to paint? Or start to like zero in on it. You just go. Gardening.
Yeah.
What's next?
Good. Wow. Yeah. Hi. Hello. Love these flowers. I really do love these flowers, man. And, you know, my dad would refer to something that is delicate like this, and he was more delicate than he thought he was, as the softer side of Sears. You ever hear something? It's just what he would say. He's gone. You're funny. Whatever. But it's crazy again that I could make something so grotesque and then something as delicate as these, you know. And I don't know. There's not much to these other than, you know, that's not true. I think that these petals, the way they move and the way they turn, I have Tourette. Obviously, that's like programmed in me to say I have Tourette syndrome. We already covered that. But I have this tick that I do with a lot with my fingers. It's actually a middle finger tick. So I do it, Corby.
No offense taken.
No, please don't give me one of these just so I feel all right. Thanks. So I do a lot with a lot of writhing, you know, and a lot of touching and stuff. And I the more that I make these paintings, that's what I'm doing with the brush. I think these flowers are like expressions of these motor tics that I have. Because if you take away my hand and you take away, you know, my body, and you just see the movement of what's happening, it's very like there's a rhythm and a cadence and like a ballistic nature to it. And some of these moves with these with the brush and the petals and stuff mimic that. And
I can absolutely see that.
Yeah, I don't know any other way to get.
It's sort of an elevated expression of that.
Yes, dude.
Thing.
Yeah,
it's a beautifying
big time
because I quote unquote tick.
Yeah, I don't look at I look at Tourette's as something that I don't, you know, I'd rather not deal with, you know. And it used to be way worse. Like I don't know if I'd be able to be here right now, you know. And it's always something that I've wrestled with, you know. Blamed a lot of things on it, and it's impeded my life in an odd way. But it's also made some of the most beautiful things happen in my life, and it goes along with making mistakes in front of people, because these are like, it's hard to do this in front of people, especially people that you know, even, and that you, or strangers in a restaurant, or you know, the woman that I'm just like can't stop doing this, and the tick is like, hopefully I can make eye contact with her, and when I do, is this guy trying to kill me? What the fuck's up with this dude? So living with that shit, you know, but then also it opens up some beautiful conversations about exposing, you know, and that vulnerability that goes along with not being able to stop some things that are happening in the moment that may be misunderstood, misconstrued, potentially disgusting in a way. I mean, I've had some tics where, I mean, I have touched my tongue to the inside of like public urinals and stuff, like, because I've had to. Yeah, it's pretty intense, you know. And that's why I'm really interested on the things that we hide, because we don't, believe me, we don't have to hide all the things we think we have to hide. We really don't. I'm out there touching my tongue to urinals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had one where I would smash myself in the balls, man. You know, like I would stick, I put a knife so close, the tip of the knife so close to my eyeball that it would touch my contact lens. I worked in construction, and the outlets that are exposed, I would have to but I would shock myself, dude.
Oh my God.
And there's a lot to be said about like what created that, the genetics of it, the environmental aspects of it. And I should probably write a book about that, you know, at some point. So yeah, thanks for listening.
To what extent does like understanding the motivations behind it help the symptoms?
That's great. That's great.
Not or somewhat or
it helps
much?
me know myself a little more. It helps me understand what the tick is covering up inside of me. So I started therapy back in 2011, and I've done individual therapy and group therapy for 7 years. And my psychologist, his name is Dodge, he's here in town. He's just a brilliant person and such a skilled clinical psychologist. When we met, he's like, what's the tick saying? What does your body want to say? What is the tick saying? And it took me a minute to be able to articulate it, because it says a bunch of different things. And he's like, are you trying to flip me off? He goes, why don't you just do it? And he's like, do it. And then he goes, come on, flip me off. And so it's really hard for me to do that, but now I'll just flip him off, you know? So it's like, this type, the middle finger tick I've talked about in the past is like, I might have a middle finger fly if, a point I am trying to make could be refuted. I perceive that it might be stupid, or the point I'm trying, or the thing I'm trying to say, I know doesn't hold a lot of water, and I don't want anybody to catch on to the bullshit that I'm talking about. That's where a middle finger tick comes from sometimes, you know? So, yeah. So,
that's interesting. Like to go penetrate that. That's
it's great. It's really changed my life
right there.
Yeah, for sure. Really has. And anybody can do that with anything.
Yeah.
Which is really beautiful. You know, like an example, like we're talking, and then I reach for a glass. Why? Like, what are we talking about? Makes me want to have a reprieve of this glass of this drink of water. What do I want to distract myself from? Am I just thirsty? What about the conversation we're having is making me satiate a feeling that I may not want to have? You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. So it's like, it's damn good water. You said Berkey?
Berkey.
Yeah. Totally. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's really neat to do that, but you can get caught in a spider web doing that, dude. And
I can imagine,
you know, there's a neuroses that happens with it. So you really have to stay in the moment. I really have to stay in the moment and be okay with the answer that shows up. So yeah.
Beautifully put. Well, I kind of am even more interested in being part of the Make It Perfect experience.
Yeah, we're going to do
after
it.
This conversation.
Yes. It's going to be a good time.
I feel like you will be the doctor and I will be the patient. And man, I am just really enamored with you and your ability to articulate not only your creative process, but kind of what's going on underneath it and just what's inside of you. And there's just so much in there. Yeah. And that's really great to crack it open a little bit and get to see it. And thanks for spending this time with us.
I'm more than honored. Yeah. Yes.
I say us. See, this is me like being like, I've noticed that I'll say us because it's more of like the royal we kind of thing.
Yeah. The dude
instead of owning it, it's like, this has meant something to me personally. Cool. And I thank you. And I love you, brother.
Oh, I love you too, man.
And I can't wait for us to hang out again.
I'm down for it.
I think really soon.
Yes. We're going to do that. Probably maybe next week. I'm talking to my camera guy right now.
Killer.
So yeah. Thanks again, Corby.
Right, cheers.
I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go ahead and click here to like and subscribe. You can click right there to watch another video or click here to watch a playlist featuring songs of the Morse Code podcast. Okay. Thank you very much.